Everybody, we are back. It is Taped on Live's favorite podcast, favorite channel, favorite everything. We are back. You guys already know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit the dislike button if you don't like it. Leave a comment if you don't. Leave a comment if you like it. Leave a comment if you don't like it. Also follow us on Twitter at @DMarkJohnNFL for me, at MHolder95 for Matt, and of course go to pandasubs.com. Discount code TDL for 35% off for all your protein needs, for all those workout guys. Like we always talk about, it's beef up time a little bit. So, get the protein and everything you need there, guys. All right. So we got a special guest here. After that debacle in Chicago, I dropped a breakdown. I think that was enough film for the week, I believe. Maybe I'm just.
I was surprised you did that. Like you're a hero. Like, you know what I mean? For sitting back to that game, there was no way in hell I was reliving that shit again.
I just put the film on and I started watching it, and just watching them play the inside routes and do inside leverage and just like daring them to throw outside. I had to show the people. It was like it was too much. Like Jalen Johnson knew everything they're gonna do. So I was just like, oh my god, this is about to be a long season. Watching that, I was watching that film. If the Bears can do that, what do you think the Lions are gonna do this week? All right, but. We're bring some positivity this week. We're just going to the draft. We got the draft here. So we got Derrik Klassen. I think you're with Yahoo now, right, Derek? I think you was working with Yahoo.
No, I'm working with Bleacher. I work at Bleacher Report with Matt. And I do quarterback charting over at Reception Perception, and then some other NFL stuff over at the 33rd team. So
there you go. Reception. He works for Yahoo.
Right, Matt. Matt owns Reception Perception, works at Yahoo. Gets a little confusing.
Yeah. So for Bleacher Report, and your Twitter's at QB Klass, right?
Yep.
Correct. All right. So check him out on Twitter. He's a great follow. There's a lot of great quarterback breakdowns. Like I said, he charts a lot of quarterbacks every single week. And, that's a lot of work. So definitely go check that out and appreciate his stuff. So, but he's here. We're going to talk some college quarterbacks, mostly focus on Caleb Williams and Drake Maye. I know a lot of Raiders fans are going to say, oh, the Raiders have no chance to get that. But, I mean, it's a long season. And, so like the way they played last week, we don't know. So
they did themselves some favors by losing to the Bears.
So first, Derek, let's talk about a little bit your history, like how you got into football a little bit, and what you got you into breaking down quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, getting into football, it's kind of one of those things. Like as long as I can remember, I've liked football. So I was born in '97, and my first football memory is that Bucs Super Bowl in '02 or whatever. And
yeah,
so I mean, literally as long as my brain can think back, I've just liked football. And then
Derek, this is a Raiders channel, right?
I know. I'm sorry. I was like the worst Super Bowl for me to have started on to come on this show, but living in Tampa Bay, it was pretty good for me.
yeah, for sure.
And then it really wasn't until about high school that I thought maybe I would want to do this. And it was kind of just like I'd been playing soccer all throughout high school and stuff. And then sophomore year, kind of quit, and I was like, I should do something productive. I'll just watch football and see if anybody will let me talk about it. And a couple people didn't. So I was just doing stuff for free for a while. And then really by senior year of high school, I was like, oh, people will give me money to do that. And so that's kind of just how it went. I kind of just picked it up in high school, and I've been doing it ever since. And then it was kind of one of those things, just the more I did it, the more I realized quarterbacks were the most fun part of the game for me to watch, just because it kind of encompasses everything in terms of scheme on both sides of the ball. Offensive line play, wide receivers, all that stuff. So I just kind of thought it touched on everything, and it's the hardest position in sports. So I just thought it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the same reason I got into quarterbacks too, is the kind of same aspect of, if you watch every single quarterback and you go through it, you're going to watch every single offensive scheme too, right? Yep. You're going to watch how defenses play it, watch different play callers, you're going to watch different wide receivers, different offensive lines, different defensive lines. You just get to watch the whole NFL, and that's one of the big reasons why I do it, because I get to watch everybody and I get to see how everybody plays. And I think that's a big aspect of getting into quarterbacks. And, you get to learn reads, offenses, and, get to understand defenses, because you have to understand what the other guys do on the other side. So yeah, quarterbacks is a big thing for me. But yeah, we appreciate you coming on here. So let's get into it. Caleb Williams. Let's start with him, right, man. You got any questions about him for Caleb Williams?
I mean, I know a little bit about what Derek's thoughts are on Caleb, just for having worked with them. So I'm curious for your perspective. I know we'll get into a little bit more of the quarterback one discussion. How you think he's played these last few weeks, and he's this last year, I guess, as a whole. If you think he's starting to regress a little bit, or what you've seen from him so far.
Yeah, so like I'll start off with saying I came into the year with him as quarterback one, and I still liked Drake May a lot. And it was one of those things where it's like Caleb is my one, and I'm willing to be wrong, and we'll see how the season plays out. And the season is a little bit playing out that way, where like maybe I was wrong because I think Caleb is still an unbelievably talented prospect. The arm elasticity is really what gets me. Like he can make any arm angle at whether he's off platform, whether he's moving, whether he's under pressure, it doesn't really matter. And I think that's really really valuable. Obviously, he's really good off script. He's a really good creator, all that sort of stuff. But what kind of feels like the problem to me this year is he's been a little bit more inconsistent. I would say, especially the past few games. The Colorado game was standing; he was great that game. But the other games kind of surrounding that, I think he's kind of had a little bit more issues staying on time, especially on a lot of their like intermediate concepts. Like I think in the quick game he's fine, but when they're running stuff into like the 10 to 20 yard area, I think sometimes he's like a beat late. He can be a little bit late pulling his feet and eyes to the next read and all that sort of stuff. And I think he's got the arm right now to make up for it, but in the NFL, like you're gonna have to be a little bit cleaner, a little bit tighter. And so I think we're seeing some of those issues cropping up. I also see we're kind of seeing what happened with Trevor Lawrence a little bit when he was a prospect, where if we remember his, I think it was his junior year, everybody knew he was going to be the first pick, but he kind of had that on his shoulders, and he knew that too, and he knew the pressure people were putting on him. And for that first month of the season, he was just bad. Like he was just making mistakes that he didn't typically make. It felt like he was pressing, all that sort of stuff, and eventually he corrected. It feels a little bit like that's kind of what's going on with Caleb Williams, where he just feels like it's bottom of the ninth in the World Series and he's got to hit a home run every play. And it's like, bro, settle down. Like you can do all the cool stuff and that's great, but like we don't need to do that every play. And it just kind of feels like almost because he knows that everybody knows he can do that, he's like pressing to make sure that everybody realizes it. I don't know. I do think this past week he actually kind of settled himself down a little bit and picked his spots a little bit better, which I think is important. But again, he's been rough for like the past month-ish, and hopefully, like Trevor did, he kind of just settles himself down and plays the way that we know he can play.
So you kind of brought up something that I've like been curious about with him too, and I actually thought Marcus point this out before on social media, where like we see Caleb Williams make the highlight plays where he dances around the pocket, makes 10 guys miss, and then launches a bazooka down the field for a touchdown. But there's also like opportunities where within that play, like he could have taken the quick out or something like that, or taken the short dump off pass. So is that something that you've seen consistently with him, where it's like he's turning down those opportunities where like in the NFL, like, hey, buddy, you're going to have to pick and choose your shots a little bit?
He definitely has that issue. And I think even last year when he was overall better, he had that issue. Like that's just, it's along the Mahomes, Allen line of quarterback play where it's like, he's just going to do that sometimes, man. And you kind of have to live with it. The difference is like, we saw Mahomes and really to a greater degree, Josh Allen figure out how to settle themselves down in the NFL. Like Josh Allen's first, I would say 3 years in the NFL, which includes the year he first broke out. Mm-hmm. That dude just didn't want to throw a check down. He was like, I'm going to be Superman every play. I don't want these 4 yards. I'm going for 40 every play. He just was kind of so good that it worked out for him. And like Williams has a little bit of that. He's not quite as athletic and insane as Josh Allen, but he's still along that line. But what's really turned Josh Allen from like a top 7 quarterback into like pretty clearly number 2 to me is he just takes the normal plays and he picks his spots a little bit better. He still does some of the dog brain stuff sometimes, but like he's a lot better at really picking his spots, letting the offense do what it needs to do. Whereas with Williams, I think he's a lot more hit or miss there. And like you guys mentioned, he does a lot of like, the cool plays are cool, but they're in a lot of those plays, he probably could have just thrown like a slant route or a hitch, or hitting one of his checkdowns, and he's just like, "Nah, I'm gonna go make a play."
Yeah, because every time I was watching Caleb Williams on film, even last year, I always make the joke that it seemed like every single play was a save. That he would, I'll turn that down. I don't like that. Oh, let me make this guy miss, and then next thing you know, he's hitting the guy 20 yards down the field, and I'm like, okay, that's gonna look really cool sometimes in the NFL. But you're not gonna be able to do that every single down. So that was kind of my thing with him. Is like, is he ever gonna get there? How long is it gonna take? Is he the worker type of guy to get to that point where he's gonna be hitting like those quick routes and get rid of the football, or is he always gonna be trying to be that playmaker? So do you feel like there's, I mean, because this year it's kind of getting worse. So right, if he gets to the NFL, how long is that going to take? Or like, and how do you feel about that? You even feel he's going to get there and be able to be that type of guy where he could just do some checkdowns and stuff like that?
I mean, what I will say is that the degree of growth that we saw from like Mahomes and Allen was kind of like, that just doesn't happen very often. And it's crazy that they kind of both did it at the same time. But like, I think we need to understand that like guys going from just kind of not doing that stuff at all to being really some of the best in the league at this point, that degree of development doesn't happen very often. I do think Williams can get better. And what I'll say is like, I do think I have a lot more faith in him getting better at that than I did for Zach Wilson, for example, is because I do think there are plenty of examples where Williams does show good vision. And it's like, okay, he does know how to get 1 to 2 to 3 and take the check down. It's just kind of inconsistent. But I think he's shown the baseline of like, he knows how to process. It's more of just like, he's choosing not to do it. And he wants to go make the play. And I do think that part of it is workable. Whereas, like, you know, I do think some people are going to have a little bit of Zach Wilson flashback with him just because of the way they play. But like when you watch Zach Wilson, like some of the stuff he was doing in structure, it was like, he just doesn't know what's going on. Like it wasn't like he's choosing to do this thing. It was like, he doesn't know what else to do. He doesn't know where the options are. Whereas I do think with Williams, like we're all saying, he kind of just chooses to do his own thing sometimes.
Yeah. He's just out there. I'm the best football player in the field, and I'm going to show you guys I'm the best football player in the field. I feel like that's what he does. He goes out there and just shows he knows how to play football better than everybody else. I got better instincts. You can't tackle me, and I'm going to throw the ball 50 yards on you. So, but it's gonna be hard to get away with that when you got Myles Garrett and all those other guys. They're some pretty damn good athletes too. For real. All right. Caleb Williams. Okay, so Drake Maye. Now, Drake Maye, he is not a shabby athlete. He's a pretty damn good athlete. That was basically what I'm trying to say. He can move. He can throw the football. He's got the size too, right? He's a big dude, pretty big guy. What are your thoughts on Drake Maye? Your initial thoughts of him?
I mean, he's awesome. I mean, I'll start with the athleticism because you mentioned it first. I think in some ways he's a better athlete than Caleb Williams. Like Caleb is a little bit like quicker and springier, like in tighter areas, and Drake Maye, just because he's so big, doesn't quite have that. But I think when he gets out in the open field, that dude is moving. Like he can really, really go. And you can pretty clearly, to me, I think use him as a design runner even more than Williams, just because of the size difference. Like, you know, Williams, he's going to be like probably 6 foot 215 generously, whereas like Drake Maye is going to have a few inches and probably 10, 15 pounds on him, which I think it does matter when you start to like talk about hits in the NFL. So I think that stuff is important. In terms of a passer, like he's kind of the opposite of Williams in the sense of, you know, he can do some of the off platform, off script stuff. And like, he has that in his bag, but his game is more like he's a pretty consistent guy throwing within the structure of the system. Like you see him as a guy who gets to 1 to 2 balls out. Like he's not holding the ball. He's not like, do I want to throw it? Do I want to go make a bigger play? He's a lot more willing to let the offense do what it wants to do. You see him getting to checkdowns on time, which I know we mentioned Williams doesn't do it, but like truthfully, like a lot of college prospects don't really ever do that. And so to me, like when a guy does it, I'm like, oh, this guy is smart. One of the biggest examples I always go back to is like Lamar was so good at this at Louisville, of just getting to the check down on time. And like, it's a boring thing, but like we're all talking about, like in the NFL, you've got to do it. Sometimes you just need the 3 yards and we're going to move on to the next play. And I think Maye is really good at that. And then you look at the arm talent, it's not quite like Herbert level, but he kind of has that too, where he's just throwing javelins to like every single level of the field. He can rip seam balls. Like the posts that he throw are amazing. He's a really good downfield thrower. And then even just on some of the intermediate tight window stuff, like some of the dig routes or like comeback routes they have in their offense, he's driving it no problem. Like he's got a big boy NFL arm. So I'm kind of in on him. The biggest concern I would say I have so far is like, he does kind of have a tendency to, if things are going wrong, he'll make it worse. A little bit in like the old Ben Roethlisberger, or like, you know, Josh Allen is obviously like this. I mean, there's just some guys where like once it starts to go wrong, they're like, I can fix it. And it's like, sometimes you can't, man. And so I do think he has a little bit of that in him, but you want a gamer at quarterback. And I think he's got enough of that. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm glad you brought up the offense, because I actually had a question about that. Because I remember when like Sam Howell was coming out a couple of years ago, one of the big knocks on him was like, the offense at North Carolina was a lot of RPOs, a lot of screens, a lot of like, you know, this is where the ball is going, right? Where it's kind of predetermined throws. And I, from what I've watched from Drake Maye, it's not quite, it's like evolved a little bit, but it is still a lot of like RPO, a lot of screen based, and a lot of like, easy check down passes and stuff like that. So I'm curious if that's something that has kind of played into your evaluation of him, and it's something you might be concerned about a little bit, to the extent where he might be a little more robotic than we realize.
I definitely was worried about it last year because I think the offense was more in that mold a year ago when we were a little bit closer to like what Sam Howell was and stuff like that. And I did have that because last year especially, I do think there were moments where it was like when they did call the real concepts in the offense, he would kind of be a little bit inconsistent about knowing where to go with the football. He would still get the ball out time and get it to somebody, but it would be like kind of missed an opportunity here. Could have thrown that, you know what I mean? Where like he was still getting you a good play, but he was kind of hitting singles when he could have hit a double or a triple, that sort of thing. I do think this year he's actually gotten better, and I do think the offense has evolved a little bit more to be a little bit more normal. I think they run a little bit more drop back concepts. I think they've opened up the offense a little bit to trust him more to handle the load instead of doing quite as much of the RPO stuff that they used to do, which I think is a positive sign. That they kind of like, in his second year, they were like, all right, we can open it up a little bit. We can do a little bit more of the, actual drop back concepts that you want to see. Like they don't really go under center and do like NFL offense.
Yeah.
But as far as college offense, I don't think it's like that far out of the realm from what we see really from like most prospects at this point.
Yeah, at this point, when I see a guy in pistol and he does a play action out of pistol, I'm like, okay, that's good enough. That's a good enough.
Right, that's as close as we're getting. That was like Anthony Richardson last year. It was like, this is as close as we're getting to what it's going to look like. So.
He's turning his back, I guess, right? He's turning his back and turning around. Yeah. One thing I noticed though, I feel like he does bail pockets a little early. What do you think of his overall pocket presence? Do you feel comfortable that he's able to navigate muddy pockets a little bit?
I do. I mean, I don't think he's quite as good as, to me, like Trevor is like the absolute ceiling of what that can be for a college prospect. Like I've never seen somebody handle the pocket like him. Yeah. I do think Maye has a couple of moments a game where he will bail a little bit early. And to me, it's not in the same vein as Williams where he's like, I'm going to go make a play because I want to. Like for me, it's not as much of a want to with Maye. It's like, I think in some moments, he knows the ball needs to get out. And if he can't get the ball out, he's like, okay, I'm just going to leave instead of like maybe hanging in there quite as much as he should. But I still think he throws pretty well around bodies when he has to. Like, I don't think it's he gets scared or like, falls into his shell a little bit when he's pressured. I think he still has that in his bag. And I'm hoping the more that he plays, he gets a little bit better at that. But I would say it's not his best trait, but I think he's over the bar for what I'm looking for.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because a big thing for me, I've been learning just with translation is pocket presence. I feel like you either have it or you don't.
Yes, and Matt knows this from all the meetings. Every time we bring up any other quarterback prospect, really outside of the top two, they're like, "Why don't you like him as much?" I'm like, "Pocket presence, like these, like Shedeur Sanders, like Shedeur Sanders is really cool. His pocket presence is bad, and that to me is like the big inhibitor of why I can't get around on him." JJ McCarthy has a little bit of that where he's looking to leave all the time and he's trying to be a runaround guy. Like, so that I think you're absolutely spot on that, like pocket presence in almost every case, you really have it or you don't. And if you have it, that's going to translate. Yeah,
because since it's a Raiders channel, I always use Derek Carr as like Derek Carr's pocket presence was terrible when he came out, and he found a way to get it to like average. And I'm like, if you have a guy who has bad pocket presence, that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna get it up to average. It's never gonna be great. So you either have it or you don't. Like Zach Wilson had terrible pocket presence coming out, and I was like, there's no way he's gonna be able to handle pockets. And here we are.
And he didn't.
And then you talk about Trevor Lawrence, and then Trevor Lawrence is becoming Trevor Lawrence because he has that, right? So that's part of the quarterback instinct I think a lot of people miss too.
Definitely.
All the other thing you guys need to know about Derek is Trevor Lawrence is like his holy grail. That's how he measures everything.
That's the pinnacle. That's what a quarterback prospect looks like.
I'm not going to fight that. I like Trevor Lawrence, so really high on him too. Let's got some film, man. Let's get into some film a little bit.
Get some film clips going. All right, it's going to be a pretty good transition because I'm glad we were talking about Drake Maye's athleticism and his ability to kind of create out of structures. I think kind of a little bit underrated, probably because Caleb is makes a little bit more highlight plays like one of the things that sticks out to me is like we were talking here about him going through his progressions. I mean, we're going full field right now. No one's open. Scrambles around, throw on the run. And I mean, that's when we see that arm talent. We see it from the end zone view here. Again, going through the progressions, off platform. I mean, you can't throw a ball much better than that.
That's nice.
Yeah, I would say you're absolutely right to say that. Just real quick, I would say you're absolutely right to say that he's underrated in the sense of like being able to do stuff outside the pocket, because Williams is obviously like what everyone is chasing, but Maye almost has like the Herbert problem where because he's normally so good and on time in structure that people kind of forget he can do all the crazy stuff. But you're absolutely right, he can.
Yeah, definitely. And then our next clip, let me fast forward a little bit here. Our next clip, I think, is actually going to be another nice one because, Marcus, I'd be curious for your take on this one, too, because I kind of battled whether or not he really needed to leave the pocket here. Like South Carolina, they rushed 2, dropped, 9? My math there, right?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, and then, I mean, again, everything's plastered, nothing's open. We got 9 to cover 4 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, I mean, he gets a little bit of pressure. Kind of, as far as like a bailing out of the pocket, like he definitely didn't need to do that again. And then 2, again.
Yeah.
The ability to create, like this is, I'll let it run from the start. We're going to make one guy miss.
See,
come back, make the same guy, that's the same guy miss, and then throw it across your body for a dart.
On these type of plays, though, I mean, because he's an athletic guy, right? I mean, if he was like Tom Brady or something, I'd be like, okay, what are you doing? But he's an athletic guy. I guess sometimes you let him get out the pocket. I like how he tried to reset his feet, though, first before you just kind of make some of these throws. Like if you go back a little bit. Like even the first throw, I mean, that's how you throw on the run. I mean, that's like textbook, right? So go back a little bit more. Sorry, dude. Right, like because they're rushing 2, right? And it gives me some Kyler Murray flashbacks. But you see how he's like reset his feet, and find a way to make a play. I mean, if they rush 2 like that, I don't get too mad about you trying to get out of the pocket because they're rushing 2 guys. I mean, you might as well just make something happen. Then make all those guys tired, and then somebody's gonna get open anyways, and nobody's gonna stay cover that long. So,
gotcha. Yeah, and here's we can move on to a little bit of what Derek was talking about: ability to create with his legs. Again, nothing's open down the field. We're all plastered. Rush starts to come home, and just kind of takes off. Oh no, wait, never mind. Screwed that one up. So again, same kind of thing. Leave the pocket, extend the play. Now the throws across the body aren't exactly my favorite and the most encouraging for the next level. But hey, I mean, if you can get away with it with arm strength, we'll take it for now.
What I love about that clip is just look how controlled his base is when he's sliding up in the pocket. Like base is down, he's ready to throw no matter what. Mm-hmm. He can feel that backside pressure coming because of the loop. Like I think he's smart enough to see that. I think there's plenty of clips where he's understanding what the rush is going to do to him. And truthfully, like, not to make a meme of myself, but like that's what Trevor was so good at, is he knew what the rush was going to do. Yeah. And I think that's exactly what Maye is doing here. And you see him keep his eyes up because he knows where that rusher is supposed to be, even if he can't see him, keeps his base under him and makes it throw. So like that's the type of stuff I love with Maye.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, to your point, Derek, like he times it perfectly, right? Like he's taking off right as soon as the rusher gets there. Mm-hmm. And that's going to, give him a little bit extra more or not allow that guy to come up, catch up to him.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like how he climbed and because you kind of tell that he could see that dig coming and he knew it was going to be there when he came out of the pocket. So, I think he had a feeling that it was going to open up right there. And that's why he was able to make a kind of easy touch throw on the run like that. So it looks across the body, but to me, it looks like a pretty nice touch throw too.
Nice. All right. Similar play. Again, rolling out on the pocket. Nothing's open. But here, not so bad of an athlete, at least not for a guy of his pigmentation, we'll say.
I tell you, he's a pretty damn good athlete. Like I'm interested to see his combine because I think he's gonna have one like Justin Herbert, where it's just gonna show off his athleticism. He's have a high RAS score, and people would probably be a little shocked by it because it's not highlighted as much. Like we don't see this play everywhere, right?
Exactly.
But these are the type of things he can do, and he's willing to do them as well, as you could tell, and he has the athleticism to do it. So,
yeah. I believe get a similar one here. Oh yeah, I'm bringing pressure off the edge with that boundary corner. And two, that's the other thing I like is he stays so calm under pressure, like or at least when they blitz. I mean, puts the move on the linebacker there, makes that guy miss. He also uses the ball as a weapon when he's running, which I really like. He's got that Mike Vick pump fake a few yards down the field. Mm-hmm. That he can get guys with and get guys to hesitate, stop their feet. So yeah, I mean, a lot more nuance and athleticism than I think originally meets the eye. All right. Oh yeah,
I love this throw.
That's just sweet. That's exactly what it's supposed to look like.
It's funny. As soon as you were talking about like the digs and like hitting, I'm like, this is perfect, too perfect. I mean, I would like to see the ball, like, or at least him start to throw right about here, you know, for some NFL level anticipation. But this is last year, so this was, I believe, his redshirt freshman year. That's not bad for a redshirt freshman. And then, I mean, the hose to get it in there.
If you got a big arm, you can be late. That's what I say sometimes, you know. I mean, you get not all the time, but you know,
more than most guys. That's for sure.
Kind of the same thing here. I mean, that's safe. Like, we're throwing into.
You can't throw it better than that.
3 defenders here. I mean, this is got the triangle right here, and he's just going to fit it in between all 3 of them. Props to that wide receiver for taking the shot and holding on to the ball. But I mean, again, those are just the throws he can make with that big hose of an arm that he has that you're not going to see from a lot of guys.
Yeah. And that to me is a throw where the guys who have the best arms and are good with it, like it's because they know they have the best arms. He sees this Tampa dropper in the middle of the field open up to the opposite side, and he immediately knows, okay, he's not going to be able to beat how fast I can throw it to the other side of the field. And he doesn't. The ball gets there before the defender can. So, I mean, that's how you do it.
That's arm talent.
One more here. Get a rope to the nice slot receiver. Rope down the sideline. I mean, like this to me, like, if I'm the cornerbacks coach or the defensive backs coach for Notre Dame, I'm just throwing my hands up and saying, sorry, bud.
Yeah. And this to me is like the next level of NFL ball placement where he knows because this corner has inside leverage exactly where the ball needs to be put on the outside shoulder. And the little shuffle to like get himself over to that side. I mean, that's what it looks like but when you watch the top 12 NFL quarterbacks, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to keep watching this on repeat. That's just like he said, perfectly placed, like understands the leverage of the defender. And I mean, like you can't throw a ball better than that. You can't defend that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, here we get a little bit of what I was talking about earlier. Blitz, take a shot here. Now I know this throw is wide open, but still to like, you know, you recognize the blitz is coming. Like this guy is not exactly doing a great job of hiding it. He knows it's coming, knows the heat is bringing it, and he's going to recognize this coverage break, and then still deliver a strike. But please, for the love of God, catch that ball next time.
I know, man. They were pissing me off. Even I watched like this a little bit of it today. I was like, man, catch the damn ball.
But yeah, that is a good point to notice too. Is like if his stats aren't quite what they were, I don't even know what his numbers look like this year. But he's been dealing with a lot of drops this year. From, North Carolina receiver. Like that could have been 6. I know a similar thing here. Not quite as much pressure. Get this guard pushed into his lap a little bit. But same thing. I mean, he's just so calm and like just going from watching like Jimmy Garoppolo, like at the moment his first read isn't open, like start getting happy feet to watching him is like, boom.
And you see, he's not unnecessarily fading away from the throw. I think against pressure, there are moments where you kind of have to fade away from it to get the ball out, but he's not doing that here. Whereas like you watch a guy like, I think Mac Jones is actually a good example of this. Mac isn't unwilling to throw against pressure. It's just that he'll fade away from the throw, which when you have the arm that he does, makes a lot of throws kind of impossible. Yeah. Whereas Maye is on the other end of the spectrum where he's willing to step into the throw with pressure in his face. And also he has like an A+ arm. And so that's how you get throws like this.
And he's making quick decisions. I like everything. Everything is quick. Like this is pre-snap, reading something, understanding where he wants to go to the football, matches it, and hits it. Right. And that's how you beat pressure too. I mean, if you can read the field quickly and you can get rid of the football as soon as you see the openings, I mean, that's how you beat pressure, regardless if there's blitzing you or anything like that. And that's why, like the Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen's and, those type of guys and Justin Herbert's, you can't really blitz them too often, even though Brian Flores decided that he was going to try it 88% of the time. But, you don't see that as often against those guys because that's how they see it. They pre-snap, they'll see the blitz, and then just get rid of the football, and that's how you beat it. So I really like that. That's probably the best thing I saw from this film is like everything was a quick decision. It wasn't like him trying to decide, where to go with the football. It was just catch the ball, boom. And then sometimes even the guy might not even be the wide open, but he's still able to make the throw with a quick decision. So.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that too, because I had a few clips too. I obviously didn't include them in this reel, but like, or was the same thing. I noticed the same thing. It's like everything's like quick, decisive. We're getting the ball out. Like we're not hesitant. We're confident. We're doing it. And I almost feel like the offense, like we were talking about earlier with North Carolina, helps them in a sense a little bit, right? Because it is so, hey, you get this look, go here. You get this look, go there. And you can very much tell that like he knows what's going on. Like they'll give him like the play that sticks out in my mind is they had like a screen and then a hot route to the tight end on one side and the linebacker blitz. So he didn't even think and didn't even look at the screen, just popped it right to the tight end and they ended up getting a first down of it. And it's like, that's not an impressive throw, but again, what you're talking about of like the processing, the decision making and making quick decisions and sticking with it. Like that's what I think I really like about him. You can tell he's confident in the pocket and confident in that arm strength too, and confident in his ability.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say something else. I forgot. Well, also just going back to what you're saying about, running the offense, right, and, getting rid of the football. That's one thing I noticed, because even if this is not an offense that is going to play in the NFL, right, you want to see how well this guy runs the offense that he's in. And I think that's kind of a big thing, because if you're not running the offense that you're in, like, it's like it's a machine and you've been in it for 2 or 3 years, I'm going to be looking at you a little funny, because, I mean, this is college football. You should be running this offense like a machine. You should be doing what he's doing, which is quick decisions. It's his second year in it, and he's been executing it at a high level. You want to see that, because that can kind of tell you, because, like CJ Stroud, I think CJ Stroud is kind of a great example for me. CJ Stroud really ran that Ohio State offense really well. I don't like it. I don't think it's an NFL offense that he could really translate, but he ran it really well, and he knew where to go with football. He pointing out protections, whatever. And then you see him come into the NFL and he picks it up really quick, and he's running this offense the same way. And I think that's a big thing that is a transition thing too. So
100%. And even what I'll say about the Ohio State offense is, like, for as much as I loved Justin Fields in a lot of ways, and I do think he ran the Ohio State offense well, but it was always like a little bit slower, and he was kind of making up for it with his arm. And I just thought that would speed up a little bit in the NFL when they ran a real offense. And obviously that's not been the case. But with Stroud, even though it was still kind of a BS offense in some sense, like you said, he ran it so fast. The ball was always exactly where it needed to be, that it was like, maybe he's the one that's different.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're seeing it. He's different.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Matt, any other thoughts on these quarterbacks?
Not really, man. I feel like we covered these guys pretty well.
Yeah. But before you get out of here, Derek, I want to ask you, since you chart all the NFL quarterbacks, who's your most surprising quarterback this year, just on film? I don't care about stats or anything like that. That you're like kind of went to the season a little skeptical on, and then this guy got really better from the previous year.
I mean, this is kind of a weird answer because he's been great before, but Matthew Stafford, I thought it was like maybe a little bit gonna be cooked just because he was older. I do think he played better last year than people realize. I think it was one of those things where, like, by week 5, we all knew we could check out of the Rams, myself included, and we did. But this year, he might be the 5th best quarterback in the league right now, the way that he's playing. Like, the pocket presence is unbelievable. He's making really good decisions with the ball. He's pushing the ball down the field better than I think any other quarterback in the league right now. And he's doing it with Tutu Atwell and like a 5th-round rookie. And I love Puka Nacua. Matt knows this. I didn't think Puka was going to be this, not this fast. And so the fact that Stafford is doing that, with still kind of a patchwork offensive line and like no real running backs, I mean, I think he's playing out of his mind. Like, I think it's just not showing up as much in the normal stats and wins because like this Rams roster at a certain point, they just run out of gas. Like on defense, they only have 1 star. Even on offense, it's kind of just Stafford and Kupp and like to a degree Nakua at this point. And they're kind of just hoping that they can throw enough haymakers early to wear you out. And a lot of times they can't. But I think Stafford has just played at a truly unbelievable level. And then the other one I would say is honestly CJ Stroud. Like, for as much as I loved CJ Stroud, I did not think he was going to walk into the league and be a top half guy like right away. Like, I already think he's like pushing top 10. Like, he is unbelievably good right now. He plays so fast. And it's not even just that like he's just getting the ball out for the sake of getting the ball out. It's like he understands exactly what coverages he's getting. He knows when and where he's being blitzed. Like there was a play, I don't actually remember who they were playing, but I think it was like 3 weeks ago where he's even like bending the rules in a way where like, so they're running, the defense is running cover 2 on like 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4 or something like that. So they don't have a very, very far to go. His slot receiver, I think it's Robert Woods, runs like a little stick, like kind of flat route to push into the flat. Normally that's a bad throw if you're trying to throw into cover 2 to throw to a guy that's running into the flat.
Yeah.
But Stroud gets the ball out as soon as his back foot is down, and he puts it on like the shoulder that is more closer to like the inside of the field. So Robert Woods can kind of turn and get his back to the flat defender so he can just shield the ball, get 5 yards, and it's a first down. And like, it looks like a weird and risky throw, but that to me is a quarterback who knows exactly how to like push the limits of what a defense is doing to him. And that to me was like, oh, this guy, he's going to be really freaking good.
Yeah, I watched the Steelers game. I watched that film and the Steelers and what was the other one? I watched the I forgot what other film I watched, but yeah, he looked pretty impressive. He just looked like a second-year player, right?
So he looked like a 5th year. Like he is balling, dude. Like he is really good.
Yeah, he's played really damn well, man. So the Texans, definitely they found one there. So for sure. All right, man. I really appreciate you coming on and talking quarterbacks with us, man. Definitely want to kind of bring you back. I mean, hopefully the Raiders are going to draft one this year. Like I said, the rebuild has never started until you draft one. I don't know if Josh McDaniels is going to be picking that guy. Me personally, I hope he doesn't because I'm tired of Dagger. I've seen that. I want Matthew Stafford, Derek, because he's the Dagger King. That's the guy who could run that concept the best. I mean, bring me Matthew Stafford or Josh got to get out of here. So
Stafford will throw the clear out.
If it's past 10 yards, Stafford he'll throw it.
He's gonna throw that dagger, bro.
He's gonna throw the ball
for sure. But yeah, we appreciate you coming on and breaking down the knowledge, man. And any last words, Matt?
That's about it, man. I mean, like you said, obviously, Derek, really appreciate you coming on. Like a lot of good insights, a lot of good stuff, and not just about the draft, about the quarterbacks in general. Obviously, super knowledgeable. So give Derek a follow if you're not already. But yeah, really appreciate it, man.
All right, guys, we're out of here. Like I said, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. Check out my me breaking down Josh McDaniels' offense. There's something wrong with Josh McDaniels. That's up on the channel as well already. You can get a little frustrated there. But we're out of here.